Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to talk about catching specific exceptions. Here in Python, for example, we are having some predefined errors that we may be able to catch them using exception handling. In fact, here zero division error or value error are already defined in the exception handling system of the Python. So for example, value error is when we would like to have a variable, but value error when the value of a variable is not correct. So when the value of a variable is not correct, the Python system is going to handle it through a value error exception. And if we are using try except blocks, it is going to throw this exception and show us this message, for example. But if we are not using the try except block, it is going to crash the program. So the program is going to be crashed. Also, when we are having, for example, zero division error, it is going to evaluate to see if a number is divided by zero or not. So if a number is divided by zero, it is going to automatically understand that we are going to do an error for this category, for example, zero division error. And therefore, if we are using try except blocks, it is going to handle it using this error handling in Python. Otherwise, it is going to crash the program. So let me illustrate all these concepts with an example. We are showing this message to the user, enter a number, for example, here. And we are going to use the input in order to store it. And then because it's a number, we want to convert it to an integer and assign it to a variable called num. Then we are dividing 10 by num and assign its value to result. Okay. Then we would like to, for example, show this in the output. For example, print result. Okay. However, if during this procedure something happens or an error uh, is thrown because we are putting it in the try except block, it is going to understand it and it is going to throw an exception. And depending on what we do with this num, it is going to have different exceptions to be thrown. So let me run the code. So when I run the code, it says enter a number. We are in this line. Now I type number 5, for example. It says the output is 2, for example, here. Because when I type number 5 is stored in the num variable and 10 is divided by that num variable. So 10 divided by 5, the result is 2 and 2 is assigned to result variable and we are printing out the result variable. Okay, let me run the code one more time. So here there was no problem. Everything was fine. Simply we were just using the try except block in order to prevent any program crashes and nothing went wrong. When I run the code one more time, it says enter a number. So here I type down, for example, 0. So when I type 0, it is stored in the num variable and 10 is divided by 0 and assigned to result. At this point, because it is not possible to do that, it's not going to continue executing the program anymore, the compiler. And then if we are using try and except block, which is our case, it is going to throw this exception. And because if this exception is thrown, we are going to have this message in the output. It is going to show this message in the output for us. But if we were not using this try and except block, it was going to have a program. We were having our program being crashed. So now I enter 0 in the output, in the input, and it says cannot divide by 0. So this message is shown because this exception was thrown. This is why we have this message in the output. So if I run the code one more time, it says enter a number, and this time by mistake I enter a letter, for example, a character like H. So enter a number, I'm entering H, and 10 is divided by H. So it is going to throw an exception in this category, value error, when the value of a variable is not correct. So if I enter, it says invalid input. Please enter a number. So this exception handling part, so if we throw this exception, and then because we've thrown this exception, this message is shown in the output. So this is how actually we can have specific exceptions being handled in Python. And we had an example here of a number divided by 0 or a number divided by a character, for example. Thank you for watching.